Hello there, guys and girls. This is the Prussian Prince with another Rome 2 tournament video, and this is going to be the Decade of Darkness tournament semi-final match between VoidDragon and Llewelin. VoidDragon, of course, being from Sith Clan, and Llewelin from Agartha. So here on Armavir, again, we have Boy versus Tylus. What a surprise! So we have VoidDragon playing as the Boy, or Boy, not quite sure how to call him, and Llewelin as Tylus. So, allow me to go over the builds. VoidDragon, he has a slight downhill advantage on this map. I suppose he's the attacker and he has both hills that he has basically easy access to compared to Llewelin. But he has to attack, I believe. Anyway, he has, let's see, where's his general unit? Okay, a Note-Sworn general, strategist, quite standard stuff. We have 3 heavy horse in the back, so not more than 3 heavy horse. Again, interesting stuff. Then how many Celtic warriors? So 2 Celtic warriors on his right flank. And probably, yeah, 2 Celtic, no, not actually 1 Celtic warrior on his left flank with an axe warrior. So that's a bit of a change from VoidDragon. And in terms of other sword units, he has, I believe it is 6 sword followers. Yeah, 6 sword followers and another Oathsworn unit. But I find it interesting that he does use his Oathsworns as part of his main line instead of reserve. For spears, let's see what he has. He has up front 1 Levy Freeman. Should have more Levy Freeman over here, I think. 2, 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4 Levy Freeman. Okay, that's quite a few Levy Freeman, but they're quite good against raiding horsemen that Tylus can bring in. You can see that we have 4 raiding horsemen brought here by Llewelin. Now, in terms of Llewelin's build, well, we can't really see all of it, unfortunately, but kind of guess what he has. He is currently showing 4 Levy Freemen up front, and an Oathsworn general in the back. Strategist, quite obvious choice here. And then 2 Celtic warriors on his right, a Celtic warrior and a Galathracian on his left, interestingly enough, and probably 6 tribals in the center is what we're going to be seeing here. So yeah, it should be quite a standard Tylus build, nothing too crazy, like no tribals and pure Oathsworns. That'll be funny. And it may actually work, but it's a bit risky, I think, to use that instead, and maybe not as cost effective, but can be something to keep in mind. Here the raiding horsemen can't really do anything against Levy Freeman. But we can see that Llewelin is trying to flank and force the Levy Freeman not to face his forces. And here VoidDragon is using his Levy Freeman just to counter the raiding horsemen, make sure that it can't fire on his good units. And he's gonna try and scout ahead with his heavy horse. A bit risky in case there are archers that are gonna pour fire down on him. And Tylus, well, why would you bring any kind of skirmishers as Tylus, right? Well, I guess you can bring Peltas from time to time. But yeah, obviously this is what we have. 6 tribal warrior front line, but in the back we also have another Oathsworn for Llewelin. So now VoidDragon is moving up to see if he can engage. Again, he's countering the raiding horsemen with Levy Freeman. The raiding horsemen for Llewelin are over here, but this is cost effective for VoidDragon, as Levy Freeman are quite cheap compared to raiding horsemen. So if he can pin them down with Levy Freeman, that's a very good engagement for him. He's thinking about charging the main line of Llewelin, but it's quite difficult because he does have a second line and does have Levy Freeman up front, and then like his tribals won't really taking the damage from the charge. Raiding horseman getting a few shots off on this heavy horse. That's pretty important, as well as there are only 3 heavy horse on the field for VoidDragon. But here comes VoidDragon. He's going to start the engagement here, interestingly enough, but this might not be so good for him. And here come the Celtic warriors over here engaging Galathracians, and the Celtic warriors, they probably will lose as there's also Levy Freeman support. Finally, you have a heavy horse charge into the rear of tribal warriors. It's very good by VoidDragon, but perhaps not good enough as they get shot to pieces by javelins. And it's gonna do some nice micro over here, pulling back the sword follower and then charging in with this other Oathsworn in the Oathsworn general of Llewelin. So this is a very good engagement by VoidDragon over here. Same thing over here, he's gonna be killing off Levy Freeman, but his heavy horse have taken so much damage already without doing what they need to do due to Levy Freeman miss outs. And here comes a back charge from raiding horsemen, but at this point they're just gonna get surrounded and killed off by Levy Freeman, so maybe not what he wanted to do. These heavy horse for VoidDragon kind of being wasted. Have this Oathsworn over here actually doing quite horribly. I'm not quite sure what happened to it. I guess it got pillowed to death. So even though he's using all these cool abilities on his general, it's gonna end up losing as it will get flanked. But you can see that the sword followers over here are getting crushed by Oathsworns. And now we have second win on the Oathsworn general of Llewelin, which should allow him to mop up this engagement, I feel. Whereas VoidDragon should have a decent edge here on this flank, but the center is not looking too good, and the heavy horse will die to raiding horse. You don't see that too often, but it's because they're low in numbers. And some rear charges into the sword followers might actually make the rout. No, they're actually in yellow morale, and now this allows the heavy horse to come into the raiding horse and do a lot of damage to them. The game certainly isn't over yet, but I don't think that it's looking too good at the moment for VoidDragon, as he definitely lost his right flank and his general is not in the best position, and it's gonna lose to an Oathsworn here. So let's see how that works for him. Raiding horse back charge into Oathsworns again. Actually, it's kind of like a bit of a flanking charge instead. But now Levy Freeman and Celtic warriors are supporting, so this might change the tide over here, but there's just still so many units for Tylus left on the field, and this flank is mopped up. And now this one poor Oathsworn unit is going to get absolutely demolished by this Galathracian rear charge. Two raiding horse though have kind of not really managed to do too much, and they're going to be routed off the field. More raiding horsemen over here for Llewelin, just trying to get some shots off. But I think like he should be putting them over here and deliver some rear shots into VoidDragon's general, and he might be doing that right now actually, and it would be a good move. But you can see that Tylus is just so cost effective in this engagement with its sword units. The Oathsworn general is gonna die here. I mean, in the beginning, there was a good move by VoidDragon here to pull the Oathsworn general out of position for Llewelin, but still, Llewelin managed to support it quite well, whereas the Oathsworn got pillowed to death, I think, here. Oathsworn general for VoidDragon, and this is what lost him the game, I think. Because there's not going to be a comeback from this unless a huge miracle happens, and those normally don't really happen. Not in this case, at least. See the sword followers here duking it out against the tribals, but tribals are now gonna get supported by some Oathsworns, so say goodbye to sword followers. Barbarian versus barbarian. Or should I say barbarian on barbarian action? This is quite brutal here. Some stray horses around here. I think it's heavy horse, but are they routing off the field? No, they're not. No, it's actually raiding horse. Yeah, this flank finally gonna be gone for VoidDragon. Look at this guys just running away and getting mowed down by tribals, Oathsworns, and the like. So that will be game one. Let's look at statistics. You see, Llewelin deployed 60 more men, but he killed a lot more and didn't lose as much. Just look at his tribals. Like, two of them did really well. The others didn't quite do their job, but the raiding horse also didn't do a lot. But just look at the Galathracians and the Celtic warrior unit. So nice. But sword followers, again, not paying for themselves, except one of them, I suppose. Like, this was kind of a weird build, because I would have expected more cavalry from the boy by VoidDragon. More cavalry to like, interrupt the charges of Tylus, instead of the way he used them here. And again, his also in general kind of got pulled out of position. Same thing that happened to Llewelin, but Llewelyn's also in general managed to get a lot more kills because again it got proper support, whereas VoidDragon's was too far into enemy territory, I suppose. So yeah, that was game 1. Currently 1-0 to Llewelin in this best of 5. Let's see how the next game goes. So this is game 2 on the Mythocena, and we have Rome for VoidDragon and Llewelin playing as Galatia. So this is a bit of a different matchup that I don't normally see, because the most common matchup right now is, I guess, Boy versus Tylus. And then maybe like Boy versus Galatia or Tylus versus Galatia, also quite common. But let's go over the build brought here by VoidDragon. So let's use slow motion so I can actually quickly go over the build. 4 legionary cavalry and a general and bodyguard. He is strategist. Interesting that he actually picks strategist as Rome, because you think that it wouldn't help him too much, and something like Caesar or Commander would do better. Because he doesn't really have units that... I mean, he doesn't have abilities on his units that exhaust his troops or something, like Headhunt or something like that. But let's see his main line. So, has a Hastati on his right flank, a Hastati on his left flank. But that seems to actually be it in terms of Hastati. So basically 2 in total. He has a legionary cohort kind of like in the second line. And so yeah, 4 legionary cohorts in total. Interesting formation again. He has 2 of them on each flank. And supporting them we have 2 veteran legionaries on his right and a veteran legionary on his left, so 3 of those. And then we have in the middle 3 Evocatis, and that's a pretty strong mid force. He has 1 Velites unit, so quite an interesting build brought here by VoidDragon. The Velites might be useful in terms of helping him to kill either the noble horse or like Cappadocian Cav or something along those lines. Now, for Llewelin, who is playing as Galatia, he's got in the back 2 Celtic slingers, so he didn't actually opt for the Syrian archers this time around. He went instead for 3 mercenary horse skirmishers, so he did change up his build. 2 Cappadocian Cav, noble horse, strategist, general. Then up front we have a huge single line of swords, and I think he's alright with this because he knows that in terms of cost efficiency, his units will do better against Rome. Now, let's see, he has 2 Galatian swords on his left flank, 2 Galatian swords on his right flank, and in the center he has 2 more Galatian swords. So quite an interesting deployment. He keeps using these 2 Galatian swords in the center, and that's actually kind of a weak center for him. Like, potentially it can get exploited by cav charges or something like that, and then you break through his center and then you just flank his left and right flank, and that could be a problem for Llewelin. We'll see if it actually is a factor in this game. And then of course we do have 6 Galatian legionaries. Now we shall see what how VoidDragon is going to try and defeat this barbarian line, because it is quite menacing. 12 sword units compared to how many swords? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 swords, I think, if I didn't miscount. So 4 here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 swords. Oh, these are some nice shots with the horse skirmishers, though. They do so much damage, 41 missile damage. That's why they're quite efficient. with the jabs, as long as you hit the cavalry. Like, and this is actually not a good move by VoidDragon. He's letting his legionary cavalry take damage from horse skirmishers. The damage to legionary cavalry is just so insane, and soon enough they'll start dropping a lot more because they're taking HP damage. But for some reason, some of them are actually staying in the back. But he's gonna pull out his legionary cav now. This is not the way he should be using his legionary cav, by the way. Like, he's just getting pulled away from the battlefield. But right now, what could happen is that Llewelin could just simply engage the infantry line of Rome and then mop it up before the legionary cav get to do anything. If the legionary cav are still in combat effective state by then, due to taking so much damage from the mercenary horse skirmishers. That is something to keep in mind as well. Just look at this one legionary cav, down to 53 men, 52 now. Even the general bodyguard is moving up to face these horse skirmishers. I don't really like this move at all by VoidDragon, that he's sending out his cavalry to deal with these mercenary horse skirmishers, because he's never gonna be able to catch them unless he manages to do some MLG moves or Llewelin mismicros his horse skirmishers heavily. But you might be able to catch one of them, but just look at the damage already on his legionary cav. You could say that the mercenary horse skirmishers have already paid for themselves, and I think they cost like 310, so this is definitely cost effective for Llewelin, even though I guess he could have done it slightly better. But look, he's gonna go in with mercenary Cappadocian cav into the Hastati. He did lose 3 of them, but now it's gonna allow his Galatian swords to mop up the Hastati even quicker. Look, there are only 2 legionary cav supporting here, whereas 2 others are just fighting this one horse skirmisher. So really nice job here by Llewelin, and he is gonna take this opportunity to keep engaging the Roman lines, as there is not all the cavalry is here to support, and the legionary cav isn't doing what it's supposed to do, which is blunting the charge of the Galatian legionaries. So Rome should get destroyed in this engagement. Look at Llewelin, he's starting to pull away on this flank and is gonna be able to flank with 2 Galatian swords. So again, some nice moves by Llewelin. He's actually mismicroing the horse skirmishers here, though. He shouldn't be losing them like that. And this one horse skirmisher died, but it kept these 2 legionary cav away for so long, and they took so much damage as well. Cappadocians should be pulled out of this engagement and re-supporting and trying maybe to go for the Velites or the general and bodyguard, and that looks like something they might be able to go for. So Cappadocians trying to go for the general and bodyguard, but they should be given an order to attack the Velites instead. General and bodyguard actually does try to engage the Cappadocian cav, and with legionary cav support and Velites should be able to mop up the Cappadocian cav, but it will take a lot of damage and potentially might even die. So look at this flank. Already got mopped up because of a Cappadocian cav charge into the Hastati, and here you can see some micro by Llewelin, but this isn't too great for him because he should be engaging the Hastati head on with Galatian swords. Galatian swords should be to Hastati. I'm not sure why he's pulling it back over there. Again, mismicro by him here. He's getting rear charged by legionary cohorts. But I guess this is good for him, like that he's trying to pull away from legionary cohorts, because Galatian swords do lose to legionary cohorts. But just look at this engagement here. He just destroyed this one Evocati cohort with Celtic slingers. Like, that was so effective for Llewelin. It was insane. And Noble Horse General getting some rear charges as well. This Galatian legionary will end up losing in the fight, and so will this one, but there will be Galatian sword support. Galatian legionaries, somehow, they're not doing too well. I guess it's because Llewelyn's Galatian legionaries are getting ganked by several units. I think that is probably why it's happening over here. But we will have Cappadocians and Noble Horse support, so I think Llewelin is still in good position to win this. And again, it all comes down to the legionary cav chasing cheap horse skirmishers and getting destroyed by them before they even did anything. The general bodyguard actually trying to charge the horse skirmishers, but it'll be killed by a noble horse, so it's not looking too good at all for VoidDragon here. You can see the veteran, he does have some veteran legionaries here, and he will be able to flank this Galatian legionary. I'm not sure what Llewelin is doing with this one unit. You can see that general bodyguard is gonna die. And nice micro here by Llewelin. He does actually get his Cappadocians into the legionary cav and stops them. And the Celtic Slinger still doing some nice damage over into the rear of the Hastati. This Galatian legionary is doing lots of damage. now supported by Galatian legionaries. He should be switching this target around to charge this Evocati, and he does go for it. Another jab, more jabs into the Evocadis. This flank is getting mopped up for in favor of Llewelin. Just look at these legionary cohorts. They are winded, and with a back charge, they should be routing off the field. Not quite sure why Llewelin isn't going for the back charge. Instead, he's going to charge into this bigger blob. But let's see the kills. Now they're up to 131 kills. Again, not a lot. They just got 1 kill on the charge. That is true, but they've done some HP damage to the legions. And, well, actually, they got a few more kills, but this isn't really going to be enough for VoidDragon at all. Like, you can see that this game is kind of over. Of course, these legionary cohorts might actually win against the Galatian swords, as expected, but Cappadocian Cav support is coming. There are a lot more Galatian swords on the field for Llewelin, and you can see right now that legions are kind of suffering in this engagement. And are they actually routing here? No, they're actually routing the Galatian swords. So actually, this isn't over yet, because Llewelin did lose his left flank, whereas the Celtic slingers are still alive. And we have some Pila into the Celtic slingers as well. Evocati is still alive for VoidDragon, so this isn't over yet. Cappadocian Cav charging frontally into Evocatis. This isn't the best use of Cappadocian Cav, I think, because he doesn't have follow-up units like Galatian legionaries. So, in fact, this might not go as well for Llewelin as I thought. So he doesn't need to get the Galatian swords into the legionary cohorts. And again, this one Cappadocian Cav was wasted here. He didn't have to do what he did here, unless he had Galatian swords to follow up, but he didn't. Like, they were a bit too late. So now the Roman units will actually get the charges off, and Pila, just look, Galatian legionaries not doing too well at all. Evocatis, nice rear charge into the veteran legionaries, and he's actually got his noble horse soon to be dead. So this isn't very good for Llewelin here. He's gonna have to disengage his noble horse. But he had to actually get rid of one unit here, and this Evocati might prove to be troublesome. But these two Celtic slingers, I wonder if they have enough ammo to do their damage. But I don't think that it's gonna be really hard for Llewelin to pull this off, because this legionary cohort is winning against the Galatian sword here. Veteran legionary here, another legionary cohort, and look at this Galatian legionary. It's gonna be off the field soon. So it looks like, actually, VoidDragon is gonna be able to pull this one off somehow. I guess it's because, again, Llewelin didn't support his Galatian legionaries properly, so they got double teamed by Roman units and then just ended up losing without really being cost effective. And the Galatian legionaries really have to be cost effective for Galatia, as that is the main unit that he has, basically. That is his core unit. Again, jabs into the Celtic slingers, and it is game. So actually, it is VoidDragon that ends up winning the game. Look again at the Galatian legionaries. Most of them didn't do too well. Only 2 of them did damage. But basically, I guess that is why Llewelin lost. Look at the kills of his Galatian legionaries. Didn't do what they needed to do. Noble Horse General and Mercenary Cappadocian Cav did damage. Horse Skirmishers actually did what they were supposed to do too. Celtic Slingers got a lot of work done, so I think it does come down to the Galatian legionaries being ineffective in this battle, which is why Llewelin ended up losing this one. And you can see this one, Evocati and Hostati with 129 kills. Wow. Then the veteran legionaries did so well against Galatian legionaries, as well as Evocati cohorts. Well, this one got destroyed, and I think it's because it got focused by Celtic slingers. Don't quite remember 100% though. The legionary cavalry, yeah, you can see that they got some kills, but really a lot of that is horse skirmishers, so it's not really worth it for them. So I think that was a really good move by Llewelin in the beginning, but he ended up slipping later into the game. So yeah, it is currently 1-1. I'll see you in game 3. So this is game 3 on Pyramids. Have VoidDragon playing as Armenia, and Llewelin, he is the Armeni. I think our Armenia could work really well against Armenia, but we shall see here. Gonna go over the builds quite quickly here. So, for VoidDragon, we have Strategist, Royal Cataphract General, then two Eastern, actually an Eastern Cataphract, then Persian Cav on his left flank. Again, same thing on his right flank, it seems. As for his skirmisher line, he does have two Eastern Archers, but that's basically it. And an Eastern Spearman on each flank to support. Then same thing with Persian Hoplites, but they're actually in the front line, not in the back line. And he has a front line of, how many axes? 6 Cardly Axemen. These guys are quite strong in melee against armored units. They have a lot of melee attack and some decent AP damage, I think. But let's see the build of Llewelin, and it already looks scary for me. So he does have 2 Levy Freemen on his right flank, 2 Levy Freemen on his left flank. In terms of cav, he has 6 Heavy Horse. And I think this is a really good choice against Armenia in case you need to support your infantry. Make sure that the Cataphracts can't pull out, but there aren't too many Cataphracts in this game. Only 2, 3 if you count the Royal Cataphract General. Then he has an Oathsworn Strategist General, again, super standard stuff by Llewelin there. And 3 Celtic Youths. They have quite the missile damage and they're pretty cheap, so I guess he probably wants to use them to do damage to Cataphracts or cavalry in melee, while those units are engaged in melee and they can't really pull out as fast. The Cataphracts can't pull out as fast as Persian Cav. Then his main line, well, I can't really see his main line because his forces are actually hidden, but I would assume he has maybe 6 Chosen Swordsmen. We'll see. Let's fast forward it a bit. So at this point there are multiple ways that the Heavy Horse can be used. So he can use them to make sure that he charges in when the Persian Cav and Eastern Cataphracts come in, or he can use it against the Cardly Axemen. And I think that charging into the Cardly Axemen is not as bad as it sounds, even frontally, because then if you follow up with Chosen Swordsmen should be able to do really well in that engagement. Otherwise, I think Cardly Axemen might actually win head-on against Chosen Swordsmen, though. But I'm not entirely sure, as I didn't really test it out completely, so I'm not quite sure. But it might be the case, I'm not, again. Or even Chosen Swordsman might still win frontally. I didn't test that out. But I'm willing to say for sure that charging in Heavy Horse and then following up with Chosen Swordsman should give a huge victory for the Chosen Swordsman. Like, if he charges in here, pulls out, or pulls through, and charges back into the rear, or gets the Eastern Archers, this could be really good for the Llewelin. And we'll see, he's actually going to go for it, which I think is the good choice, but Eastern Archers are actually targeting the Heavy Horse. And Cardly Axemen do get their jabs off, but not enough, and the Heavy Horse do get in, and now the Chosen Swordsman can come in. And Cardly Axemen getting decimated here. And the Heavy Horse will actually pull out, so some nice damage here by Llewelin, but his Heavy Horse aren't actually doing too hot right now. We'll see if this trade is worth for him, though. And his Celtic Slingers are kind of doing weird things. Here comes a Heavy Horse charge into Eastern Spearmen, though. And we see VoidDragon actually flanking around here. And the Cardly Axemen are definitely going to lose to the Chosen Swordsman right now. And here come Chosen Swordsman against Cardly Axemen. We'll see how this goes. Jabs thrown on each side. You can see that Llewelin is definitely winning the right flank, though. That Persian Cav is getting decimated, not really being effective. Chosen Swordsman getting pulled out here, so some nice moves by VoidDragon. But again, charging in from not the perfect angle into Chosen Swordsman. And Eastern Cataphracts will mop up Levy Freeman without taking too many casualties, but these Cardly Axemen here are kind of like not doing anything, when they should be flanking around and hitting the rear of the Chosen Swordsman. Would give a huge victory for VoidDragon here. And we have the Eastern Archers actually targeting down the Heavy Horse. Good job making sure that they rout. Again, VoidDragon here is going to be using his Eastern Cataphracts to well, he should be using his Eastern Cataphracts to very good effect here. If he can get around and charge into the rear of these Levy Freemen Chosen Swordsmen, it will be huge for him. He's also going to pull out this Persian Cav unit, but he's going to end up losing the center and left flank though. This is a very cost-effective engagement for Llewelin, as you see here. Chosen Swordsmen actually breaking through quite easily through Carly Axemen. The Cartleys didn't really do too much against Chosen Swordsmen, so again, I think that was the good choice to charge heavy horses in frontally, even though you're gonna lose a lot of heavy horses, at least in this situation. Not sure if Chosen Swordsmen win anyway against Cartly Axemen frontally. They might, without any kind of outside support. So heavy horse here running away from Persian cavalry, good choice, and we have Llewelin supporting with Levy Freemen. This is good by Llewelin here. And the Eastern Cataphracts not doing what they're supposed to do. They're actually bogged down by heavy horse and getting shot to pieces by Celtic youths. Again, nice job by Llewelin here. And the Royal Cataphract General is getting annihilated, but he's going to be able to pull it out, but it hasn't done what it needs to do. Here comes a heavy horse charge. This should rout the Cataphract unit for sure. This Persian Cav does go around for VoidDragon, but it doesn't look too good for VoidDragon at this point. Here comes some Levy Freemen, but again, they do some odd things sometimes when you give charge orders, like they stop. You'll see Levy Freemen mop up the archers here, and this engagement over here is going to be quite one-sided. I think the Carly Axes should actually win here against the Chosen Swords. Or actually, one Carly Axeman did rout, and there's another Chosen Sword supporting, so that's gonna change. And nice Cav charge here into the Celtic youths, but again, is it really gonna be enough for VoidDragon? As you can see, his units not doing too well right now with Carly Axeman axing it up and hacking it up here. These Chosen Swordsmen, but not really gonna be able to turn the tide, and that is game. So Llewelin actually manages to take a 2-1 lead in this best of 5. Let's look at the statistics for VoidDragon. His Cataphracts, 2 of them did some damage, but not really enough to justify the price, I guess. Persian Cavalry, 1 of them did quite a bit of damage, but this one was wasted. 2 Eastern Archers did a lot of work on Heavy Horse, so that was good for him. Eastern Spearmen not really able to do much because of Cavalry, Heavy Horse destroying them completely. And Carly Axeman, again, because of the frontal Heavy Horse charges, despite the Heavy Horse dying, Carly Axemen were unable to do anything against Chosen Swordsmen for the most part, except this one. And the Persian Hoplites as well. Like, he did some nice moves with them, but at the end of the day, they can't really beat Chosen Swordsmen. Levy Freemen here, so much damage done by Llewelin. They did so well in this battle. And of course, the Chosen Swordsmen, because they had the heavy horses charging in, so really nice kills on them. And Celtic Youths also really amazing units for Llewelin. So a lot of Llewelin's units got effective here at the expense of his cavalry, which is fine. So we'll see you in game 4. So this is game 4 on Pyramids. Have VoidDragon as Armeni, wow, Armeni, new faction Armeni mix between Armenia and Arvirni. So, VoidDragon is Armeni. Did I just say Armenia again? I meant Arvirni. Llewelin is playing as Parthia, but Armeni would be such an overpowered faction. Imagine Arvirni with Cataphracts or Eastern Archers. That would be amazing. Or Persian Cav. That would be quite a cool faction, but probably not too balanced, I guess. So, let me slow it down for a second, and as I go over VoidDragon's build, who is Arvirni, he has 6 heavy horse, again standard stuff. A noble horse general though, this is different, and he's Vercingetorix. 2 Levy Freemen on his right flank, 2 Levy Freemen on his left. Then a front line, I guess, of 6 Chosen Swordsmen, yep. But expected. He does have 2 Gallic Hunters though. These guys are quite nice, even though they're not Celtic Slingers. But yeah, that is basically Void's build. Also quite strong and similar to the last build brought by Llewelin in the last game. So now I'm gonna go over Llewelin's build. Let's see, he does have one Indian war elephant. So that is an important unit that he ended up bringing in this battle. In terms of skirmishes, he has 3 Eastern Slingers, so then he definitely does have the skirmishing advantage over VoidDragon, because Eastern Slingers are quite good units. They have a lot of armor, nice shield block chance. What else does he have in terms of cavalry? 1 Noble Blood Cav on his left flank, and then he has the Noble Blood Cav here, kind of tangled in the elephant unit. 1 Eastern Cataphract, a Camel Spearman, and a Median Cav. So quite a peculiar cavalry choice here by Llewelin. However, this does allow him to bring, let's see, yeah, 1 Eastern Spearman on each flank and 5 Parthian Swordsmen. So we still don't see the general for Llewelin, but he's probably over here in the forest or something. And I would assume that he's a Royal Cataphract. He might be a Noble Horse Archer, but probably will be a Royal Cataphract instead. We'll see. So again, this is quite an interesting build by Llewelin, the one that he decided to bring here. Like, no actual horse archers, but he just went with melee cavalry instead of shock cavalry, like the Noble Blood Cav. Noble Blood Cav are quite cool, but the thing that kind of interests me the most is why he actually brought Camel Spearman. Like, why would you bring Camel Spearman? I'm not actually quite sure, but we will see why. So here comes the engagement. Median Cav getting into the Levy Freeman. Levy Freeman don't actually get their jabs off, so they will die much quicker than usual. Again, free Cav charges. Eastern Cataphracts getting into the heavy horse. Nothing going on over here, but already I can say that we have Llewelin doing a great job with his cavalry. Now he's going to follow up with Camel Spearman, which should scare the horses. So that's interesting. I haven't seen Camel Spearman in so long. We have Parthian Swordsmen engaging here. Look at this Noble Blood Cav. Sure, it's gonna die without getting too much done, but it's getting to the Gallic Hunters, and it's allowing Llewelin to do so much damage with his chosen swordsman with Parthian Swordsmen. Heavy horse will die, but the Indian War Elephants are running amok, so this isn't good for Llewelin right now. It might kill his own troops, and he can't really micro it the way he wants to attack whatever units he wants. And you see Llewelin is actually going to pull out his cavalry over here. He might try and go for another Eastern Cataphract charge, but it's VoidDragon who does turn around this fight over here and kind of makes it cost effective, as his heavy horse will mop up the Median Cav. So this wasn't good for Llewelin actually. The trade over there, and Vercingetorix's abilities have been popped. Should give some nice boosts to the chosen swordsman and the other units, of course. And the Gallic Hunters are not really able to do much here, and some nice charges by the Parthian swordsmen here, but the chosen swordsmen are kind of doing weird things. So are these Parthian swordsmen, can't really engage properly. But now we have Eastern Slingers firing into the backs, I believe, of these chosen swordsmen. So this unit over here, I think. Like, I can't really see, but I guess it's that unit, yeah. Over in the center, like, this battle is so chaotic, but you can see that VoidDragon is actually managing to do it with chosen swordsmen, because they're quite a bit more effective than Parthian swordsmen. And here the Eastern Cataphracts haven't really done what they needed for Llewelin. Again, this is an interesting Parthian build, and I'm not sure how exactly he wants it to work, but I guess he really wants the Parthian swordsman. And Eastern Spearman here will completely die to Levy Freeman, but we can see here that Llewelin still has his Eastern Slingers, and he's managing to rout a few of the swords off, but will it be enough though? I think it's unlikely. This Royal Cataphract's crushing through Heavy Horse though. And if he does get a rear charge here and routes this flank entirely, he might have a chance, but ooh, Camel Spearman and another unit of Noble Blood Cav actually getting to the Noble Horse, and Eastern Slingers able to focus on the Noble Horse. So if he kills the Noble Horse, that will be really good for Llewelin's chances. Some rear charges with the Royal Cataphracts here might rout those chosen swordsmen. Parthian swordsmen flanking around, but we have an annoying unit of Levy Freeman here. And actually Llewelin isn't focusing the right horse unit here. He isn't focusing this one heavy horse, which could mean that his Eastern Slingers will get destroyed because we have Levy Freeman and heavy horse going around. Does he have skirmish mode? Because this unit is actually running. It might be in skirmish mode, and it's running straight for the Levy Freeman. So now I think Llewelin's chances are going down, as this noble horse will get into the Eastern Slingers and will kill them. And this Parthian swordsman will die to chosen swordsman. The Royal Cataphracts did a lot of damage, but is it doing what it needs to do? So this is a huge decisive move by VoidDragon here. So basically it means that Eastern Slingers will not be a factor in the late game, which if he actually kept them, they might have been able to win him the game, but there was still so many heavy horse left for VoidDragon that it might not matter. Royal Cataphracts going for some charges, but these are desperation charges, and sure, they're getting so many kills on the charge against chosen swordsmen, but is it really cost effective? I wouldn't say so. I mean, look at them go down. 26 now. He's gonna have to try and pull him out and see if he can go for another charge. There they go. They're about to get to 200 kills, but this game is looking worse and worse for Llewelin, despite the fact that he is doing a good job with his general. It's still kind of dying. He got 200 kills, but his Parthian swordsman over here is no longer on the field. So this means when he pulls out, he's gonna take even more damage than before. He's gonna try and get to the Gallic hunters, I guess, but they're taking such a long time, and heavy horse are actually chasing them. 16 heavy horse. Noble horse around here as well, but actually this one heavy horse might die to the Parthian swords. However, this Parthian sword unit will definitely go down. And still far too many units for on the field for VoidDragon still. Llewelin will be able to mop up this Gallic hunter though, so some nice late game by Llewelin here, but he still has far too few units at this point. These Parthian swords not doing anything for Llewelin. He should be engaging them somewhere. Here come the Royal Cataphracts. They might actually be able to kill the heavy horse, but a chosen swordsman, if they have Pila, they don't seem to. If they did, the Royal Cataphract would already be dead, but it's down to 14 men anyway. Wow, this game is so close, but here's the problem. There are so many units here that VoidDragon has, and only 3 left for Llewelin. VoidDragon even has this one Levy Freeman here that came back and he forgot about. But at this point, it's kind of decided. This Royal Cataphract is doing so much damage, almost 250 kills. So good late game. They can do so much when there's no Pila or skirmishers on the field. Like just charge in and charge out. Really, like they're mostly afraid of units that are high HP or units that are supported by cavalry or javelins and such. That's what that's the nemesis of cavalry. But in the late game, you don't have Pila on swords usually, and you may not have cavalry and you may not have skirmishers, which is why this Royal Cataphract can do so much damage. And of course, your units will be battered in the late game. So it's a nice usage of the Royal Cataphracts in the late game, but again, it's not really going to matter for Llewelin because he just doesn't have enough men left on the field. Again, the standard thrust kill animation. No units left. Well, actually, there is still this one Parthian swordsman left on the field for Llewelin. How many chevrons does it have? Oh, I don't think it has chevrons though. It does have quite a few, quite a lot of kills though, and it does actually have 2 chevrons, even bronze. So it did vet up during this battle and did a lot of work. But here they go. They're actually gonna, after charging that unit, they see that Levy Freeman are charging them, so it's gonna go for another charge. This is actually a good move by Llewelin, but it's not quite letting him do. I mean, it's not quite enough for him, even though like this one Parthian swordsman is beasting it up, and he might actually rout this one Levy Freeman unit, because if he does, well, it's still not gonna be enough, but it's gonna make it so close. Parthian swordsman doing so much here for Llewelin. Just look at them. Again, Parthian swordsman here fighting it out against Chosens. And now they're going to be off the field. Actually, no, they're not off the field. If he actually kills the noble horse general, he might be able to route this one in, but this Parthian sword is such a hero. But now he's actually trying to go for the noble horse general, and he's disengaging. If he kills the noble horse general, but his Parthian sword's route, so that is game. Very close until the very end. I thought it would be a bit more one-sided in Void's favor, but I guess not. And look, Llewelin didn't deploy as many men as VoidDragon, but he got more kills though, but just not enough. And look, well, actually, I'm gonna go over VoidDragon's build first. So noble horse, lots of work. Heavy horse as well, doing damage, and some really needed damage on the cavalry, of course. Gallic hunters kind of didn't really do anything. Chosen swords did alright against the Parthian swords, but the Parthian swords actually beasted it up during this game. They did really well against Chosens. One heavy freeman with 210 kills. What was it doing? I didn't even see it. Wow, that's insane. So let's see. Well, Cataphracts general. Yeah, the Cataphract general did so much work for Llewelin in this game, but his other cavalry wasn't really too effective here. Camel Spearman, I guess a funny addition, but didn't really prove to be too effective, I think. Indian War Elephants, probably the story here why Llewelin lost. They went amok, and I guess that actually makes the Gallic hunters quite nice in this situation. Like, even though they didn't really get the kills, they forced them to run amok, I think. I think it was them though, not sure if they were sword jabs, but I think it was Gallic hunters. I don't quite remember. And Parthian swords, so many kills, but Eastern Spearmen not really do much done. You wouldn't expect that of Eastern Spearmen. Eastern Slingers getting quite a few kills, but he could have done so much more for Llewelin. Like, imagine if he actually was able to keep them in the late game. This would have definitely been a win for Llewelin, actually. So that is game, and I shall see you in the next one. So this is the tiebreaker match. Currently it is 2-2. Tiebreaker game, sorry, not match, it's just a game. We have Athens for both players. I believe this is VoidDragon, but correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't actually show the players' names during replays, which I find a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is VoidDragon, but I'll go over. Hopefully I won't be wrong during the replay. So we have 2 citizen cav over there, 3 citizen cav in total, and then a Hippius Lancer General commander for VoidDragon. And he has a militia hoplite on each flank. Supporting those, he has mercenary Thracian warriors. Then in the back lines, he has 2 Thurio spears and militia hoplite. His core component, he has, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6 thorax swords and 1 veteran hoplite on each flank again. So I guess pretty strong build here by VoidDragon. And we shall actually see what Llewelin is going for. And I can't see Llewellin's general. Oh, there it is in the center. A thorax hoplite unit, interestingly enough. He is commander. Then in the back lines, also 3 citizen cav for him. And 1 mercenary Rhodian slinger. I guess that is the difference between the 2 players in terms of skirmishing. No skirmishing for VoidDragon, while we do have some for Llewelin. Of course, the general is different so far. Then we have 2 thorax swords on the right flank, 3 on his left flank. Basically, he decides to actually go for a wider 1-line formation, which might work well for him actually. So 1 mercenary veteran hoplite, same kind of deployment in on the flanks. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thorax hoplites. So quite a strong infantry component here for Llewelin. And it's going to be interesting to see who ends up winning this game because of the different deployments. Like, the Hippius Lancer might have to make the difference here. But again, I do like both builds, but I think Llewelin's build might be a bit rougher, tougher in melee, so to speak. Because he brought sturdier units overall compared to, say, like militia hoplites or mercenary Thracian warriors. So We'll see if this does actually play into Llewelin's hands, though. And this Rhodian is, of course, going to be able to offer him some support in order to deal with the Hippius Lancer, which we actually have for VoidDragon. But Llewelin, let's see, he again, Commander General. I forgot to go over his general. But yeah, he's gonna match the line of his opponent and slightly be able to flank him because he has just so many units. He's gonna put the thoraxes behind his main line, interestingly enough. And he's not actually gonna go in to fight VoidDragon. We do see VoidDragon pushing up. He does actually have 3 militia hoplites. I thought he didn't have so many. Yeah, still a lot of infantry for both, basically, but infantry overall goes to Llewelin, I think, the advantage. So we do have the Rhodian Slingers getting some shots off onto the thoraxes, into militia hoplites, but this isn't really the damage that he needs to do. He actually needs to do damage to the Hippius Lancer, but I think we might have a premature engagement here by VoidDragon. This isn't going to be good at all. His Citizen Cav is going to get caught before charging. He will actually clip this Thorax Swordsman, so kind of annoying its charge bonus, but it does the same thing to his own. But Thracians will lose anyway to Thoraxes. No engagement over here, but we do have Thorax Swordsmen. They will destroy this one Thurios, so VoidDragon make a bit of a mistake here, but he does pull him out in time. Now Llewelin should pull back his Thorax Swordsman in return, but he doesn't, so this one unit will get so much Pila thrown into it and get flanked. Llewelin does pull back his general though. We will have Thorax Hoplites engaging frontally against Thorax Swordsmen. Something nice going on, but look at this Thorax Swordsman. It's actually getting designed to flank this Thorax Hoplite instead of fighting this unit here. We'll see if that turns out to be good or not for VoidDragon, but again, engagement's going on over here, and this is going as expected, hugely in Llewelin's favor, the Citizen Cav getting destroyed. Again, VoidDragon going around with the Hippius Lancers and Citizen Cav, but he engaged too early, and he's actually going to lose the main engagement here. Look at these Thorax Hoplites in Hoplite Phalanx, just holding strong, and again, Mercenary Veteran Hoplites, but they're doing some odd things at the moment, interestingly enough. Militia Hoplites here will be able to hold against Citizen Cav, well, especially if braced, but they weren't braced. Now here comes Citizen Cav into the Rhodian Slinger. This is a good move by VoidDragon if he does manage to get the Rhodian Slinger, but he at least stops it from firing, and here he's going to be able to win some engagements, but now he's going to get flanked by this Thorax Swordsman. Mercenary Veteran Hoplites going around for VoidDragon, and the Rhodian Slinger will die, but this engagement here is quite a bit effective for Llewelin, though. This Thorax isn't doing much, though. Well, it's getting flanked now by Militia Hoplites, so mistake by Llewelin to not actually use it. And VoidDragon is actually pushing through here with the Thorax Swordsman, because they kind of did get supported one bit by this one Thorax Swords flanking it. And it does say that it's actually attacked in the rear, so that's... I guess it's kind of... this unit is kind of clipping it in the rear, which is what's making it so. And so it might route quicker than it normally would. We do have some rear charges here by Llewelin, though, into the Thorax Swords. And this Thorax Sword will, of course, beat the Militia Hoplite, and we do have the general unit for VoidDragon moving around, and of course this Thorax Hoplite will get destroyed, but is this a cost-effective trade? I mean, he's using so many units on this one Thorax Hoplite. Basically, his other flanks might collapse here. And now we see that the Hippius Lancer is actually stopped by Citizen Cav, and it's not going to be able to pull out. Well, he actually can, and he will get out of that engagement, but this one Thorax Hoplite will again die, but it's going to take so long. Nice flanking done here by VoidDragon with the Thurios Spear. Actually, no, this is Llewelin. No, this is VoidDragon, my bad. Some cool moves here, charging in this Thurios Spear to stop the Veteran Hoplite, and then sending this Thorax Swordsman behind to fight that unit. Hippius Lancer is actually doing some damage, but it's going to die to all these Hoplites. This one Thorax, of course, not going to do too well here. Citizen Cav here getting a charge off into the militia hoplites. Not doing too much though. Here comes another Citizen Cav charge by Llewelin, and the Hippias Lancer General will die. Rhodians are off the field, but they can still do some damage as they came back, and we see VoidDragon trying to get to them, but his Hippias Lancer General is down. Thorax Hoplites, just look at them duke it out against Mercenary Veteran Hoplites for so long, and Thorax Swordsmen. This is just such a long engagement that they are fighting, but currently it doesn't look too good for VoidDragon, I feel. And yes, this Thorax Hoplite will actually lose to these two Thorax Swordsmen, but it's going to do a lot of damage. And with a Citizen Cav charge, it might actually rout this one Thorax Swordsman that does have only 15 men left in the unit. This Militia Hoplite will have to support for VoidDragon, and we actually have a breakthrough here for Llewelin. Llewelin is gonna make a huge move here and start rear charging into these Thorax Swordsmen. Not the best charge though, it's kind of an awkward charge, but he will still deal the attack in the rear penalties, so this will be really bad for VoidDragon now. And just look at this Thorax Hoplite, it's done so much for Llewelin, and it's also getting the kills. Really well done by Llewelin there with that one unit to hold for so long, and this Militia Hoplite say goodbye to it because of the Citizen Cav charge in the rear. And again, Thorax Swordsman engaged here from multiple angles, but these guys are actually in Hoplite phalanx, so they can't fight against too much of the unit, but the unit does rout anyway. And you see that Athens is managing to win against Athens here. So who would have thought that Athens can beat Athens, right? It's quite an achievement for Athens. But anyway, Llewelin of Agartha does actually end up taking the series 3-2 here after quite a few cool matches, and I'm not sure why it was Athens versus Athens final game, if it's something they agreed on or they had to because of the tiebreaker rules, but quite cool though. We saw this matchup, as we don't really see Athens versus Athens, and there was a difference in builds. Of course, Llewelin having the bit stronger infantry component than VoidDragon, whereas he had not as strong cavalry, because again, VoidDragon decided to put his general in the Hippias Lancer, whereas Llewelin went for the Thorax Hoplite general, and the Thorax Hoplite general paid off for Llewelin, whereas the Hippias Lancer didn't do its job for VoidDragon, and that's part of the reason why he lost. Again, much stronger infantry component for Llewelin, which he managed to use before the Hippias and Citizen Cav actually got in, and it was some good moves in the beginning by Llewelin as well to catch those Citizen Cav that Void had on Llewelin's right flank, and that went well for him. Rhodian Slinger again didn't do much, but it did actually survive by the end of the game, and it didn't need to, considering how well Llewelin's forces actually tanked it out against VoidDragon. So yeah, that is game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Share the video, and I'll see you next time.